Hare Krishna, Namaste.
Chapter 13 is entitled as Kshetrajna Yoga, also as Prakriti Purusha Vibhaga Yoga, also as Prakriti Purusha Viveka Yoga. Sloka 25 and 26, Part 3. Dhyānenātmani paśyanti kecid ātmānam ātmanā anye sāṅkhyena yogena karma-yogena cāpare anye evam ajānantaḥ śrutvānyebhya upāsate tepi cātitarantyeva mṛtyuṁ śruti-parāyaṇāḥ. From the previous two sessions, we learned that it is only through the process of dhyana, meditation, that one can see the self, which means this person who is able to see the self through the process of dhyana, meditation, has purified his manasa, mind. The only way that they can purify their mind is by completing the karma-yoga and jnana-yoga, or karma-yoga by itself. All these are not new subject for us. We have extensively covered karma yoga, jnana yoga and dhyana yoga in the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, and then that led to the second half of the Bhagavad Gita, where it's all about Paramatma realization. A person who self-realized through the process of karma jnana, then able to connect himself with Paramatma and able to have the vision of Paramatma. And that happens not through simply karma yoga or jnana yoga, it happens through the bhakti yoga. But karma yoga and jnana yoga becomes the steps, the means in this ladder to attain that stage of Paramatma realization. So the person who has successfully completed karma yoga, jnana yoga is able to see the Atma through the process of dhyana, meditation. This is the first category of person who sees the Atma. The second category of person is one who has not seen the Atma yet, but thus practices the karma jnana yoga. The reason he is not able to see, have the direct vision of the Atma is because his mind is still not completely purified yet, which means the mind is not fit for dhyana. If the mind is not fit for dhyana, one will not be able to see the Atma. For the mind to be fit and able to focus on the self, it has to be free from the contamination. It has to become pure, clean. For it has to be pure, free of any contamination, one has to practice karma yoga, jnana yoga. Otherwise, one's mind will not be purified to focus in meditation, to have the direct vision of the self. It is not an easy program to constantly meditate upon the self. It is quite challenging and difficult. Therefore, this person starts with karma yoga. Through that, one works towards purifying the mind and try to focus on the self. This is what covered in the 25th sloka. dhyānenātmani paśyanti kecid ātmānam ātmanā anye sāṅkhyena yogena karma-yogena cāpare. Now the next question comes, what about those people who have not even started karma yoga? So the first person we saw has completed karma-jnana yoga. The second person we saw is practicing karma-jnana yoga. And the third person we are seeing now has not started anything yet. What they do is approach a self-realized person and hear from him and practice karma yoga, jnana yoga, and then able to purify one's mind and able to have the direct vision of the self. This we learned in the 4th chapter. Krishna said, Tad vidhi pranipadena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshanaha. One must learn the subject matter by approaching a spiritual master, enquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. Those self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto us because they have seen the truth. The truth here is they have seen the self. So this person who's third in the list has not started karma yoga, then what to speak about jnana yoga? He has no idea about any of these things. Is blank. Such person approach a jnani and he start hearing from such saintly person for the first time, and he continues to hear. As he does, then he start practicing karma yoga and then jnana yoga and purifies his mind, and with the purified mind is able to meditate upon his self and then finally able to see the Atma. There is a fourth category of person who is similar to third category, but the third category person has some inclination of wanting to practice what he heard. He hears from the saintly person and then starts karma yoga and jnana yoga. Whereas this fourth person, category of person, he would simply like to hear, not do anything further, not get into action of applying what he heard. He is not having any intention of wanting to start the practice of karma yoga, jnana yoga. Even those people are considered to be great because according to Krishna, there are hardly people who shows interest in learning about self, Atma and Paramatma. And here, some people who are interested to hear. So Krishna doesn't want to leave these people. As we know, how many people would like to attend Bhagavad Gita classes compared to any other material science or classes or any other shows or movies or entertainment. The audience for spiritual subject matter is always less compared to the audience of material things. Here are some people who are eager to hear. They always like to hear. They try to attend various classes on this subject matter. But whether they practice, that's a question. But Krishna says, doesn't matter. Let them continue hearing. That itself good enough. They will cross over the samsara also. So, this fourth category of people will be released from birth and death. Shravana matra nishthaha. They are the people who are only interested in hearing, not to practice what they heard. Which means they are not going to start karma-yoga, jnana yoga, then what to speak about bhakti yoga and paramatma realization. So Prabhupada in his purport beautifully explains the importance of hearing process. He says that Lord Chaitanya, who preached Krishna consciousness in the modern world, gave great stress to hearing, because if the common man simply hears from authoritative sources, he can progress. Especially according to Lord Chaitanya, if he hears the transcendental vibration Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Therefore, one must take advantage of hearing from realized souls and gradually become able to understand the truth, everything about Purusha, Prakriti, the three gunas, and about the Supreme Lord. These are the subject matter one must really spend a lot of time. If nothing we can do, at least we have to develop the passion of hearing spiritual topic. From the 9 process of devotional service, the very first one that's mentioned is Shravanam, meaning to hear. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Ātmanivedanam. Of this 9, as we heard, Shravanam is the very first one in the list. One has to start hearing. More we hear, more we learn. More we learn, we become more purified. Becoming more purified means our mind is clear. When the mind is clear, that means it is not disturbed by the material happenings, material attraction. When the mind is not disturbed, then it will be able to focus on oneself. And when the mind is able to focus on the self, that person will be able to have the direct vision of the self. And then the Supersoul, Paramatma. In Bhagavatam, it is said, Shrunvatam Sokatha Krishnaha Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto hi abhadrani vidunoti sursatam. Just by hearing about Sri Krishna, Krishna's pastime, Krishna's glories, one's heart get purified, cleansed from any of the material desires simply by developing the urge to hear Krishna's message from Bhagavad Gita and Krishna's pastime from Srimad Bhagavatam, one become purified. So to summarize, from these two slokas, we learned that the top on the list is one who has purified his mind and able to perform dhyana and able to see the Atma, the self. He was able to purify his mind because he has successfully completed karma-yoga, jnana-yoga process. The second person is one who has not seen the Atma yet because his mind is still not ready to focus, to meditate. Therefore, he is practicing karma yoga so he can get to the purified state and able to focus and have the vision of the Atma. There's a third category of the person whom we saw today is one who has not started karma yoga, had no clue of what it is, had no clue of what is Prakriti, Atma, Purusha, and so forth. He approaches a spiritual master, a saintly person, a self-realized person, and from him hears these subjects and start practicing kramena by the sequence, that is, follows the karma yoga and purifies himself and able to focus his mind on the self and finally able to see the self itself. And the last person we saw is one who has zero intention to follow any of these things, but he has a great interest in just simply hearing. He likes to simply hear. He is interested to hear about Prakriti, Purusha, Gunas, Paramatma. He is very much interested, but he is not planning to do anything. The reason that he is not planning or showing interest to start the yoga process is because his progress is blocked by the obstacles in the form of purva karma. Unless those obstacles are removed, this person will not start practicing. If he is not going to practice, then he won't be able to purify his consciousness. If he is not able to purify his consciousness, that means he won't be able to focus on anything. If he is not able to focus on anything, obviously he cannot focus on the self. If he is not able to focus on the self, that means he is not going to have the vision of the self or Paramatma. In other words, only when this person applies what he heard, he is going to be able to purify his manasa and able to have the vision of Atma Paramatma. But the problem for him is the obstacles from the previous karma which is stopping him to practice. For such people, Shravana Matram, just by hearing, because that is their interest. So as they keep hearing, their obstacles get removed. Once their obstacles are removed, then they will be able to start practicing what has been heard. When they start practicing what has been heard, then their mind gets purified. When their mind gets purified, they will be able to focus on the self. So at any stage, Krishna is not going to compromise the sequence. The sequence always remains same. It depends on which level we fall into, and Krishna helps us to progress to the next stage. In this case, for the fourth category of person, he needed help in removing the obstacles to start his process, the yoga process. The obstacles were in the form of his purva karma, the previous karmas. So that has to be removed, and that removal happens by this person continuous hearing, and just by hearing he will be ready to start practicing. So the fourth person simply hears, and by hearing he gets purified, and even he surpasses the mṛtyuṁ, the death, birth of this world, and attain moksha. And what to speak about those who are practicing? The one who is hearing and start practicing, the one who is already practicing, and one who was perfected. In the next verse, Krishna explains that both Purusha and Prakriti, that means the living entity and the body that it associates with, are very difficult to separate them and see. Therefore, Krishna helps us identifying that they are distinct. They are not one and the same. Hence, Krishna instructs on that subject. dhyānenātmani paśyanti kecid ātmānam ātmanā anye sāṅkhyena yogena karma-yogena cāpare anye evam ajānantaḥ śrutvānyebhya upāsate tepi cātitaranty mṛtyuṁ śruti-parāyaṇāḥ.
Namaste. Hare Krishna.